الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفوته من خلقه وحبيبه، قد بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل دينه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وآمتنا على ملته، واحشرنا تحت لوائه وأوردنا حوضه، واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. You have been the best of nations ever sent out to the rest of humanity. تأمرون بالمعروف, in that you enjoin the good. وتنهون عن المنكر, and to denounce and forbid and stop what's evil and wrong. وتؤمنون بالله, and to believe in Allah. Three qualities that make our nation as a Muslim ummah the best of nations ever to be sent to mankind. Sent means our ummah is an ummah with a mission. We are not here to pass by and leave the earth worse off than when we came in. We are expected to leave it much better than what we received it. And Allah is telling us by the understanding of the ayah that unless you enjoin the good and forbid the evil and stop it, you are not going to be the best of nations. So where do we get to be when we are not the best? The best are the people who will get Allah's support. So when does Allah support people who do not support His cause? Allah set a condition. Allah said, "In tansurullaha yansurkum." If you support the cause of Allah, Allah will support you and give you victory. وَإِن يَخْذُلْكُمْ, if Allah lets you down, فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ, who is it who is going to support you other than Him? Besides Allah, do we have anyone else to rely on? When the world was bipolar, before it became schizophrenic, it was bipolar. You know what bipolar is? People used to run to the east or the west to seek support. Muslims did the same, either running to Russia or running to America. Before that, it was France and Britain. Before that, it was only in the glorious days of Muslims, when the Muslims took Allah seriously and took the Quran seriously, Muslims were the powers that people sought to get closer to. When we were the superpower of the world for 800 years or so, everybody looked up to us. Why? What gave us that position? Some of us think that it was a God-given gift. Yes, thank you, it is. And it was. But it is a gift that's not given randomly. Allah does not put somebody on the top except for one of two reasons. Either that they are holding the achievements of humanity, and it is very important to sustain it until another nation, another community is ready to pick up from where they live. or else they are establishing so much justice and fairness in business, in economy, in trade, in peace achievements. And Allah wants to keep that status quo for as long as possible, even they may not necessarily be the best ummah in the world. But something must be good about those people. They are working hard for some morality. They are working hard to achieve the power of control. And Allah will not give power to those who are morally poor, morally corrupt. But He would give power to those who are morally strong and morally up straight and upright. But when neither is available, Allah will give power to those who have developed earthly powers. Because there is no one to stand for morality, ethics. So now the world is being governed by what we call double standard or no standards altogether. It is governed by governments that only rally with each other against their own people for corruption, to enrich themselves, only acting like gangsters. You know gangsters? Gangs, they play together so long as the government is not looking at them. But when they start getting the government on their tails, they fight for turfs and they start killing each other. Unfortunately, the Muslim Ummah and the rest of the world has no government anymore in the technical sense of the world. The world is governed by gangs. No matter what method they get to power it was. They are armed and dangerous. When they agree, people pay the price. When they disagree, people pay the price. Why? Because people carry up and carry forward those gangs. Some of us would support them, some of us would play against them, and whoever wins, they get their way. So if the forces of good is always sitting on the side and not engaging their reality, you guessed it, evil will win, gangs will win, and the paradigm will continue to be like this until people of goodwill and faith and conscience get together, overcome their problems and differences, and stand together against those gangs. Especially in the Muslim world. It used to be when we were divided into nations that we were occupied. When we were occupied, we were much better off than when we became occupied by our own. When local gangs took over, they know your tricks, they know your nature, they know how to control you. They are better at manipulating you than the occupying forces, foreign forces. They always use the locals. So it is on us. Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will never change the condition of a community unless they change what is in their hearts. In our hearts are lots of desires. We love life. But when we love any kind of life, Allah gives us the lowest type of life. وَلَتَجِدَنَّهُمْ أَحْرَصَ النَّاسِ عَلَى حَيَاةٍ. Any type of life. They just want to be living. Those people have been condemned until the day of judgment. وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكَ لَيَبْعَثَنَّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ مَنْ يَسُومُهُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. They have been condemned until the day of judgment, that Allah will keep sending against them forces to destroy them, to eliminate them with hatred and repression. May Allah save our ummah from where we are. We seem to have liked where we are, because when you get desensitized even to the worst situation, you adjust yourself to where you are. Examples you get to hear from people who are imprisoned, even wrongly, unjustly. They put two people in a prison cell, and they say there is no air condition, there is no even window, the sun doesn't come in, so they move them to a tighter cell, shorter and tighter, and they add to them 5 more people. So now they cannot sit down, let alone sleep. They complain. They move them to a yet tighter cell. Guess what? They adjust. Even though it is repressive, but we have this capacity of adjusting to what we decide we can bear. So repressive regimes, they will put you in the tightest corner until you adjust yourself to their regime. Few days ago, I was listening to the testimony in the 9 young men who were killed in cold blood by the courts in Egypt. And one of them was saying to the judge, "Judge, we have been tortured badly. We have been electrocuted, we have been beaten, we have been wounded. And let me tell you one thing. If you give me an electrocuting machine, or what do you call it, Yasser? Electric shock device. If you give me an electric shock device and give me anyone you don't like, and I will take him to a room and I will get him to admit that he killed President Sadat, even though he was not born yet." Which tells you that the more you tend to accept repression, the more repression they are willing to apply. The system doesn't let up. It is us who have to push back. It doesn't change. It used to be, even under the repressive regime of Mubarak or Sadat or Nasser or the king or anyone, that women were a red line. Nobody would touch a woman, no matter what her husband or child did. Now, women are fair game. And this is not only in republics like Egypt or Libya, this is also true in other royal governance systems. And we know what I'm talking about. I don't have to name everybody. Which means what? They are raising the bar of how much your threshold is. The more you can bear, the more the threshold will be raised. Which means, again, like what Allah is telling us, it is up to you, the regimes are telling us it's also up to you. Now, what is stopping our people from pushing back against those regimes? Number one is the fear of more repression. Right? But guess what? The more you live with repression, the more creative with repression they become. So what are you doing? You are calling for more repression. But if you say no from the beginning, maybe you will win. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَوْلَا كَانَ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ أُولُو بَقِيَّةٍ يَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْفَسَادِ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Were it not for a group of you to stand up and fight corruption, you would have been destroyed. Because Allah doesn't like corruption. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادِ. Nor does He like corrupting people. The regimes are not just corrupt, they are corrupting the rest of the society. And they are using all the tools at their disposal and even importing more. Now, the Arab Muslim countries are more busy building prisons than schools or hospitals. They talk to Europe to win them over to their side to get more support, telling Europe and America, watch out. Watch out for these mosques in your own countries. Watch out for what they are saying. And our message to these tyrants is, we will never be silenced. Not because just we live in a free country, but because no matter what happens to us, we will never let it be the way you do it in your own farms. They treat those countries as farms, and they treat people like animals. Why do we accept this denigration? Because we think we are safe. This message has to travel all the way to the ears and the hearts of the tyrants and the population of Muslims, to know that a Muslim will never give up. A Muslim will never let up until we regain the dignity for our people and for our faith and for our scholars, without which we the people don't have dignity. When a scholar is pulled even from the masjid to the prison on a Friday, when he was listened to by 5 or 10,000 people, and the tyrant's soldiers pick them up and take them to prison, and nobody is pushing back, that means we accepted where we are. When they call us on fighting each other and never fighting the real enemies. Now, a major country in the Muslim world has been instigated by a superpower to rally the Sunni Muslim world. And you know, what is this rally for? This rally is to further kill the Muslims on all sides. They don't care if you are a Sunni Muslim or Shi'i Muslim or Sufi Muslim. You are a Muslim. Kill each other. Why not? It is on us to resist this kind of traps. It's on us to push back. If we don't stand, even when our women are being dragged from their own apartment buildings. A woman is taken from the bed with her baby, and the baby is left alone with 3 other babies who need care, all of them, in the middle of the night, to prison because they want her husband. And we are reading this as if it is news coming from Mars. People in Mars are bad, but they are not in Mars, they are here. The fact that we accepted something the West never accepted. One of the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ describing the Western culture and the Western ethics and morality, He says about the Roman Empire, which resembled the West today, he said, وَأَعْصَاهُمْ عَلَى ظُلْمِ الْمُلُوكِ. They are the most difficult people to accept to live under repression. They don't accept repression. That's why they are not repressed. And that's why when they revolt, they do not let up until they finish whatever regime they revolted against. Do you know why? Because they never accepted to be disarmed. This is the only cultural difference. We accepted to be disarmed. We accepted that the gangs that are called the governments have exclusive rights to carry guns and weapons and machine guns and all other munitions they like. In the disbursement of the protesters in Rab'a Square in 2013, the Egyptian government used anti-aircraft munition to target individuals. You know what anti-aircraft munition is? Anti-armor munition? It's like 22 millimeter or more. Much more than 22. I think it's 52. It's much bigger. You see the wounds when somebody is hit with this in the chest, his whole chest is gone. If it comes to his head, it leaves nothing. The brain pops up. And that's what they targeted. I'm not trying to dramatize anything. This is the reality. We are living a drama. We are just minimizing it. We are reading it as news about someone else. We better read it as our news. We better read it as it belongs to us. And we need to cut this suffering and protect our community worldwide. Maybe you will ask now the most legitimate question, what can we do? We don't live there. What you can do, again, be the voice for the voiceless. Don't sit silent when you see what is wrong, when you see destruction, when you see corruption, when you hear these very painful news. Don't look at it as news from some other planet. It is our nation that is suffering the most. Muslim refugees today and displaced people around the world constitute 90% and more of the total world refugee population. What else do we want? More than 90% of total world refugees are Muslims. We're talking about women and children who are living either in the open air or in flimsy, unprotected tents that saves them from no sun, no rain, nothing. No sewer system, no clean water, no regular food, no medical care. And all what we do is send some money through some relief organizations to alleviate some of this suffering, which we have to do. We cannot sit silent. But that is not the treatment. The best treatment is the prevention of sickness. The best prevention of suffering is to prevent repression and corruption. Who is going to speak up if not us? Who's going to respond to Allah where He said, you must enjoin the good. When you see some government doing something right, stand up and say thank you. When you see someone doing something wrong, tell them stop it. We don't like it. But to sit silent is to call for more oppression. And that we have been getting for centuries now. It is about time that we wake up This is the third millennia. We should not wait for one more millennia to wake up. This will be too late, even for our grandchildren. We are about to leave this world. We better leave it with less repression, less corruption, less suffering, less pain, less blood, more justice, more peace, more cooperation. This is the world we need to work for. And there are lots of other forces other than Muslims who are working on those issues much more and much better than we are. At least join hands. The Prophet ﷺ knew about a party that was formed in the days of Jahiliyyah before Islam. It was an alliance of goodwill. Those allying tribes were led by three people. All of them, first name was Al-Fadl. So it was called Hilf al-Fudul. And they agreed, they signed up and agreed that we will never let oppression happen on our watch. Anybody coming for Hajj or Umrah or business, we will stand with them, because it used to be, if you are visiting, if you are a foreigner and you're going for any religious or business reason to Mecca, you were taken advantage of. Either you will be stolen, or you will be robbed from your ride or anything else, or money or business. They said, not anymore, we will stand. Do you know what the Prophet ﷺ said? Even though this was an alliance pre-Islamic era of Jahiliyyah, the era of ignorance, he said, if I am to be invited to join an alliance like this today, I would. Even if there is no alliance for the good of the world around us today, we should initiate it. But there are many groups that are working for the good of this world in this country. Why aren't we joining them? So we treat ourselves as aliens, which means we alienate ourselves even from issues that matter to us the most. You remember in the early days of the Trump ban on Muslim travel to America, it was not Muslims who took the front line. It was other neighbors and organizations that took the front line, but at least Muslims joined. That was a good move. But let me tell you my honest opinion, and I'm sorry to use this, because it was here and now and selfish, we went out of our way. But if the pain and the suffering is away from us, we don't put out the same effort. We need to start changing the paradigm of our thought. The system that we use to make judgment has to change, and that's part of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us change our attitude towards justice and repression. Allahumma ameen. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وبعد. It may be painful to some ears, but the reality forces us to be honest in addressing our issues. What is going on in Libya? What is going on in Yemen? What is going on still of killing and displacement in Syria and Iraq? The ethnic cleansing of the Sunnis in Iraq has reached an unbearable level, and the divisiveness of Muslims in Libya and Yemen to hit against each other, the more than lifelong rulers. Is there somebody ruling beyond their expiration date? Yes. We are the only nations in the world that people could be dead, but they are not declared dead, because kings do not die, presidents do not die until they stink and everybody smells their bodies. They are still alive. Algeria is one example. But before that, many other nations, the president or the king would be dead for months before people would know, as if they are protected against death. So they continue to rule in their name even after they had died. What more humiliation do we want? Remember this: أعصاهم على ظلم الملوك. They are the most difficult to accept repression. The West is where it is because they refused repression even when it came from their own church. They refused it. Why do we accept it when it is coming from gangs? People who only have the military and the guns. That's all what they have. Somebody will tell me, this khutbah is very political. Yeah, it is. Because in Islam, like in real life, the guys who tax you are the guys who claim to protect you, are the guys who take your money and your children to the war. So, if you are apolitical, you don't want to hear politics, you must take an exit from life. Life is run by leaders. Call them politicians, call what they do or say policies, call it political, call it any name you want. But managing our affairs as humans must only be done with our approval, not despite our approval. And that's why it is not enough to elect somebody for 2 years or 4 years or 6 years and go home and take your bed and be comforted. We can never be comfortable until justice is done domestically and internationally. We can never be comfortable or even secure if anyone is not secure. As MLK Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We have to stand up for justice. Allah brought this in 2 surahs consecutively. In Surah An-Nisa, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط. Amazing. Squared it off from both sides. Stand up for justice and be witnesses unto Allah. Stand up for Allah and be witnesses for justice. This is our ultimate mission. This is why Allah sent prophets and revealed books for people to stand for justice. When we give up the cause of justice, we give up the cause of our faith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us stand for what is right. May Allah help us stand for justice and stand for the sake of Allah and stand up for the poor, the helpless, the exploited and the underprivileged. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا ما أحييتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا ولا إلى النار مصيرنا. وإذا أردت بقومنا فتنة فنجنا منها يا مولانا، غير خزايا ولا مفتونين ولا مبدلين ولا مغيرين. اللهم لا تدع لنا في يومنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا كربا إلا نفسته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا فقيرا إلا أغنيته، ولا سائلا إلا أعطيته، ولا مبتلا إلا عافيته، ولا ميتا إلا رحمته، ولا غائبا إلا سالما رددته، ولا مجاهدا إلا نصرته. اللهم انصر عبادك المجاهدين في كل مكان، اللهم انصر عبادك المجاهدين في كل مكان، اللهم انتصر لإخواننا المظلومين في كل مكان. اللهم عليك بالظالمين، اللهم عليك بالجبارين، اللهم عليك بالمعتدين. اللهم اجعلنا هداة مهتدين غير ضالين ولا مضلين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم، فستذكرون ما أقول لكم، وأفوض أمري إلى الله، إن الله بصير بالعباد. وأقم الصلاة.